Ruben Nez Perce Cochran. My native name is Iitaanɔɔn'i, which means Buffalo Run. It was given to me by my great-grandfather. And I was born to the White Clay Aaniiih tribe at the Fort Belknap Reservation in Montana on February 21st, 1948. Are Moses Nez Perce and Betty Lou Cochran. They're both passed. And my paternal grandparents were Joe Nez Perce and Clementine Womenstress. And my maternal grandparents were Brian Cochran and Mabel Horseman. I have one daughter. Her name was Lisa Cochran. And her mother was Roseanne Packard. She was a Dakota from Rosebud, South Dakota. And she's passed also. When I was being a White Clay Grovant or Aaniiih was kind of it just meant you were native, you know. My family never kind of separated tribe. There was more, you're from Hayes, or you're from Lodgepole, or you're from Harlem. That was the differences. But as far as tribal affiliation, it just meant that I was native, and I was never taught to focus on any kind of tribal affiliation. Like I said, you know, my friends were everyone on a reservation just about was my friend when I was a little kid. And that's really all that mattered. I was very, very proud of my town. I'm proud of being from Hayes. So. Well, started out, I went to the public school in Hayes. Let me go back to the kind of the beginning here of my life to kind of give you some idea, because I'm going to have to cover some other stuff here. My mom, Betty Lou, was like, I guess most women in that era. She was kind of married off, you know. They were the families got together and decided, you know, if they're who should marry who back in those days. And so that's how she married Moses. And she was a lot younger than he was, so she was only 15 when she got married. And I was born when she was 16. So it wasn't, you know, because of the age difference, he was probably 20 at least when they got married. And she and he did not match very well, I guess, because after I was born, they got divorced, and she and I went to live with her parents, my grandparents, Brian Cochran and Mabel Horseman. So we living and growing up with them for you know, from the time I was just a tiny baby, I was born, that became my life. And so when I started school, I had to be registered and all the other stuff. And so my mom talked to my grandpa and said, you know, what should I put down as Ruben's name? You know, should I put it down as Nez Perce, you know? And she was remarried by then. She was married to Jojo Brocky. And she said, or should I, you know, put it down as Brocky? And he told her, he said, no, Betty, he said, you know, my girl, he said, give him my name. Give him the name Cochran. he said that's my gift to him. So from that day when I was 6 years old and started at school in public school, my name has been Ruben Cochran. So I've always been called Ruben Cochran, and that's how that came about. But anyway, I went to the public school. It was brand new then. There was not that many. I don't know if I was the first group to go through it, or if it wasn't, I was definitely the second group, because everything was brand new then. They had just started, allowing the kids to go to school on the reservation and not go to boarding schools, the little kids. And so I went all the way through that to the 8th grade. Graduated from there out of the 8th grade, and then I had to decide what to do, because in those days there was no high school on the reservation. And so you either went to the to the mission, or you went to boarding school. So I decided I was going to go to boarding school, so I went to Flandre. It wasn't a good match for me. I just couldn't deal with it. So I came back from Flandre and just stayed. I didn't go back. I stayed there, and I went to school at the mission for a while, and then to finish that school year. And the next year, I started at the mission again, but they kicked me out. So I had and it wasn't for anything bad. It's just that they're the only game in town, so you had to follow their rules. And during Spanish class or something, I drew a caricature of one of the nuns, the teacher, and she got really upset about it, so she had me expelled. So I left school there, and I was about 15 in there, 15 years old, and went to work off the reservation as a cowboy. I lived in a bunkhouse with the other cowboys, and get up in the morning and go catch horses and go and look for lost cows and fix fences and all the normal stuff that you do on a ranch, And so it wasn't. I was there for quite a while, a month or so, maybe more than that, but around about a month, and then I cut my foot with an axe, and I damn near bled to death. So I couldn't go back to work. So I was not working, and when that happened, the police found out about it, and then they realized how old I was and why I wasn't in school. So they told me I either had to go to school or I had to go to reform school, which is the prison type, juvenile detention center in Montana. And so my mom evidently talked to somebody, and they said, okay, we can send him to Oklahoma. I didn't know anything about this. Or just one day my mom said, hey, come here, Ruben. you're gonna be going to school in Oklahoma, and here's all your clothes and what have you packed up for you. And a bus pulled up, and I left and went to Concho demonstration school in Concho, Oklahoma. So I finished that year, and the following year then I went to Fort Sill, which is also in Oklahoma, another boarding school. I liked it there. It was good. It was a good fit. So that was how I got through my school. Now, when I finished that, I wanted to go to college. I knew I wanted to, but I had no idea. Nobody had any idea how you could possibly go to college in those days. I was 50 years ago or whatever. And so there was a program. Eisenhower had a program, a relocation program, they called it. And the idea was to get the native people off from the reservation, and if you got enough of them off the reservation, you can shut the reservation down. That was Eisenhower's plan anyway. So these were all poorly funded programs, but they were functioning properly, They got me off the reservation anyway. And I signed up for this program. So I had to go take a ton of tests, and all these different tests and what have you that had to, first of all, I had to get my GED because I hadn't graduated. I had one more year to go but I didn't go back. And I got my GED and I got accepted into a place called Western States College in Inglewood, California. And I had my choice of either there or to go to Chicago, because the testing that I did, it gave me an indication as to where I was qualified to go to, and then Chicago was a X-ray technician school, which sounded like I could make some money off that. That was a good thing. But then at the Western States College, it was a electronic course, and they called it electronic engineering, and I had no idea what that meant, right? So I thought, well, okay, that's the perfect one. And if I don't know what it is, then it's something I have to learn, and it's probably a better place to go because it's technology, and so I went there, and that was where I went to college. So. We pretty much lived off the land at that time. There was no way to get any kind of supplies of any kind because there was no supermarket anywhere. Harlem, you know how far Harlem is, but back then there was only a gravel road. There was no paved highways between Hayes and Harlem. So to go there, it was really a chore, So we did a lot of venison. I ate a lot of deer meat. I was loved deer meat. We did a lot of wild birds, prairie chicken and that kind of stuff, and then regular chicken. We raised chickens too, so we had a lot of that. But most everything I ate was wild. Was either shot or trapped or what have you. Chicken was really the only thing that we had locally. Then we had my mom and grandmother would make bread constantly. They're always making bread. We always had homemade bread and baked bread, and then she'd make fry bread with the dough, So we'd have that fry bread, and they cooked bread on the top of the stove. They called it wheel bread. It was a bread that was cooked in a frying pan. But we had that, and then we had potatoes, just regular potatoes that we had grown because everyone had a garden, or the powdered eggs powdered potato from commodities, because we ate the commodities too. I mean, whatever we got from the commodities, we ate it. There wasn't hardly anything went to waste. And it was at that time, early on, but before I was 10 years old, we didn't have electricity, so we had no refrigerator. And what we do is we take and we had little cages that we put down and drop them down into a well, into a spring. And the springs were always really cold. and so we put whatever we needed to preserve, refrigerate. We set it in that spring water. So we had ways of of taking care of the foods that we had so they didn't go bad on us. But it was mostly just living off the land. That's what we ate. There was people who spoke it, but unfortunately, in my family, it was mostly just words. There was never any conversations. We a lot of it had to do. There's two reasons why that is. It's because my first of all, Brian Cochran was half white, and so he didn't speak any of the language. So my grandfather didn't speak, and my mom, or my grandmother rather, who I lived with, her parents were half white clay and half Lakota. Her mom was Lakota from Wolf Point, Mamie Horseman, and her dad Ben Horseman. He was he was full blood. But he didn't have anybody to talk to because his wife was Lakota, right? So there was that part of it. So they both learned words, but I don't think they ever, either one of them ever learned the other person's language. And then because of that, my grandmother never learned to speak it fluently. She knew, a lot of words from both Lakota and white clay, but she never spoke fluently either one of them. So in our house, there was never conversations going on. And I really, I feel bad about that. I wish there were more of it. But there were enough words that it was kind of more of a pidgin English thing, where a lot of the words that were spoken were native words in place of English words, but the conversation was in English, you know what I'm trying to say. So anyway, that's where that happened. Plus, on top of that, there was the boarding schools. My great grandparents went. That's how they met. In fact, was in a boarding school. My grandmother went to boarding school. My mom went to boarding. Everybody went to boarding school, and they beat the language out of you. So you didn't talk that much of it anyway, even in school. So. It was country living, we everything we did outside. We were we had a lot of little toy trucks and stuff, that we'd make roads that went for miles, and that kind of thing. And then we had what we called stick horses, and that's just exactly what they were. They were just sticks. They didn't have a little horse head or anything. It was just a stick. And so we had herds of stick horses that we pretend like that was ours, and everything we did was outside, and a lot of hide and seek, and neighbors were not close. It was probably half a mile away. So it's not like you had someone just yelling over a fence talking to somebody. There was a little ways to go, but we got together and we did a lot of things together with the neighbors. We were neighbors to the Gons were there, and Pete Gon was a policeman, and he lived close to us. And then. Where Matt Jones lives now, he's always lived there. His family lived down. They lived down across the river down below, though. And he's my cousin, so we'd go and hang out with him. And we would all get together. The kids would always find a way to get together and to do things, and there was always just everything was happening in outside though. And then when I got older, a little bit older, we started breaking horses. So a horse became a part of our life, you know. I think I was like, I don't know how old I was, 15 or so, 14. Maybe younger than that, maybe 13. I think I was 13 when I broke my first horse. I got my first horse, so I broke it. And was able to ride it. And so almost everything we did after that was, you know, it's on horseback. Well, yeah, we were always going to powwows, and there was always a powwow going on somewhere on the res, and so we'd get together. People would get together. There'd be some reason why it was a you know, a powwow going on. But as far as celebrations were concerned, major, there were major powwows that went on. They're still going on, I guess. The one in the river, and one in Hayes, and there were also sun dances, and those my grandmother would take me. My grandfather didn't go because he was a white guy, so he didn't go. But Grandma would go, and she would take me with her. And so we'd go, and she made sure that I understood what was going on and how important it was to be real quiet and to be respectful. And so I learned a lot about the rituals and what have you in our through my grandmother. Well, yeah, I grew up, you know, the the Sundance and all that was part of the cultural religion was just part of our life. So that was not something that was necessarily taught. But my grandmother and my mother, mostly my grandmother though, she was very religious as far as being a Catholic is concerned. She was a super Catholic, you know. And so we did everything that was required by the Catholic religion. We went to Mass every Sunday. We, went to every sacrament that had to be taken and what have you. We were all baptized. We were all First Communion, and on and on and on. Everything that you had to do as a Catholic, we went ahead. All of the kids did. We all went, and we all went to church, and we say rosary and prayers at home in the evenings. So yeah, I was raised as a Catholic, and I don't go to church now. When I got older, I was able to choose more of what I believed, and I do believe in God. I believe that we were created, that there is a creator, that someone put this beautiful Turtle Island together and placed us on it. And so I believe that. I believe that. In fact, my grandmother told me, she said they call us white clay because God was here visiting, and he saw how beautiful it was in there, but there was no people around, so he scooped some of the clay off the bank of the river and made some people, made our ancestors, so he'd have someone to hang out with. So there was that kind of a feeling that we were a part of what God created. I never did question that part of it. Now, how you find God is really what religions are all about. So every one of them is no more than a roadmap to God. And so you got to pick and choose which one you want to follow. And I there was too much pain and suffering brought by the Catholics, the early Catholics, for me to identify with them completely. You know what I mean? But I still when we get together, my family is still Catholic, and when we get together, we say group prayers. We say a rosary together, and I still know all of the prayers, and I believe 100% that we're talking to God. So. I signed up for all this, and I got through the like I said, all of the testing part of it and everything, and what I was qualified for. Well, during this process, I also got my draft notice. so I had to go and go to Butte to get a physical and everything, and so there was like this thing. I wasn't sure whether I was going to wind up going into the service, going to Vietnam, or whether I was going to be able to go to Los Angeles for school. Well, since they're both government programs, I guess they talked to each other and they gave me a deferment. So after I got my physical, and I passed it, okay, so they said that, you're going to be going to Vietnam, and then I got a call and said, or not a call, a letter that said, there's been a change, you need to go to this particular office, and at the county in Chinook and talk to somebody. So I did, and then they said, well, okay, the whole thing is all taken care of, you got a deferment, and there's going to be a bus. Here's a bus ticket. You catch this particular bus and you go to LA. So that was kind of it. I just went to Los Angeles, and I on a bus, and there was a definite culture shock because I was coming off the res and coming out of the wilds of Montana. On top of that, and then all of a sudden I'm in downtown Los Angeles where there's wall-to-wall people and smog and everything. And so I got there, and to me that was the thing that bothered me the most was the smell. It just smelled horrible. I'm used to the clean air of Montana, and then I go into downtown Los Angeles with all the fumes and what have you. So I got to LA, and they gave me a phone number to call, so I went and found a phone booth and then made a phone call, and then they got me connected up and for this program. Now, the program itself, it seems like it was a good thing, but it was designed to fail because what Eisenhower wanted was to get you off the reservation. He didn't care whether you got educated or whatever. As long as you were off the reservation, he succeeded in what he was trying to do. Well, they gave us $135 a month for living expenses, and that was to pay your rent, for food, for clothing, for transportation, for everything. And you weren't allowed to work, because if you worked, they deduct that from the $135 that you got, any wages you made. So you couldn't work. You just had to figure out how to survive on that money that was that stipend that you got. And it was, we figured it out because there was enough of us kind of hanging out together that we figured out how to do it. And plus, on top of that, I found a job that would pay me cash. And as long as there was no paperwork involved, then it really nobody knew that I was making money. So I was able to to finish school, working at night and going to school during the day, and I was able to get through the school and get my degree. And it turned out that the degree, it's an IT degree, and now it's the same as getting a computer science degree. It's electronic engineering degree. So it worked out good. Anyway, the bottom line was I was able to. And so because I didn't have any land, I really had no place to go to by going back to the reservation anyway. So that was when I decided I was just going to stay there, just stay off, and live off the reservation, try to figure out how to do it. I used to, when I get really homesick or I get scared about being so far away from home, what I do is I in Los Angeles at that time, I mean, it still is today, just this massive amount of traffic and people and, just human being after human being. And I'd look around and I'd say, okay, there's, I don't know, at that time there's probably 3 million people. I'd say there's 3 million people out there, and I'm probably at least an average guy, so that means I'm as smart as half of them. So it means I know as much as 1.5 million people. And if they can figure out how to survive here, I'm going to figure it out, So I'd give myself a little pep talk, and I'd go and I'd keep on going until I finished the school. But the reason I didn't go back was not because I didn't miss it or didn't want to go back. I didn't have any land or no place to build a house or no place to really live anyway. So I was better off just staying where I was. And I was 18 at the time, and then I finished school. I was 20. I moved around a lot, okay, because of the computer business. At that time, there weren't that many people that worked with computers, and so I moved a lot. I lived in Chicago, and I lived, in Arizona, and I lived many different places, looking for, a better job or got a better offer. I did a lot of contract work, so I just worked on contracts. And when I finally retired, I was living in Arizona at the time, and my wife was her parents. She grew up in Portland, Oregon, and that was where her parents were. Her mom was still there, so we decided to go to Portland. So we went to Portland. Well, her mom passed away eventually, but then also my wife died. So I was living in Portland, and then I met a woman, and she and I hit it off and decided to buy a house together. So we came over here where I'm at now. Right now I'm in right in the center of Oregon. There's a it's called the high desert. It's over the mountains from Portland, on the east of the mountains from Portland, and it's a lot less rain. It's more desert-like, and so I like it here because it's a good place to get old. You're not worried too much about rain constantly, and it does get snow. It's all 4 seasons here, but the sun shines almost every day. So I'm very happy with where I'm at now. And so I sold my place, and my girlfriend sold hers, and we bought the place together. And that's where I live now. And I'm okay. I'm comfortable with. Yeah, if I had a place to go if I had land. I had some divided property. So I'm sorry, undivided property. And so I tried to trade it for a piece of divided land. And, they told me how to go about doing this. And so I did. I went through took all the steps and everything. And I figured I could get myself, 5-10 acres or so. I could put a little house on it and just pitch a tent and place for me to go and die, But it went on for years and years, and they never, every time I think that things were starting to move, the council would say, well, we decided we can't do that because we need to get an appraisal on something. And I'd say, well, what do you need? How long is that going to be? So, well, he said, we have no way of getting an appraisal for another year. And so I said, well, I'll pay for the appraisal myself. And I said, well, we can't do that. It has to be done through the government. So it just went on and on and on and on. And so I never, ever did be able to make the trade. So I really I would like to go back and live there, but I have no place to live. So I guess the answer then is no, I won't. Probably won't be. Well, I think inclusion is probably the most important thing, because I really believe that the people that live off the reservation, like myself, would live there if we could, So it's not like we're trying to abandon the reservation. We still want to be included. We still want to be a part of it. And I don't even get ballots for voting anymore. They used to at least send me a ballot, and I fill it out. But I had to have it notarized or something, So there's an added expense in doing that. But anyway, so and now they don't even do that. I mean, it's like why can't I even vote for the people who are going to be representing my tribe, So inclusion is the most important thing. Anything that is being done for the people on the reservation, the elders, or the just regular people who find themselves living off the reservation, is inclusion. It's anything that's associated that affects like you and everyone else who is living there. It affects us too in some way. So and I personally, I'm very proud of being from growing up in Hayes and being from Hayes and being a White Clay member of the White Clay tribe and being a member of that reservation. I've always been proud of it. I've always talked to people and I think I've been a good member of the community, even though I don't live there. And I just want to be told, that, hey, you're part of us, and that we're all in this together. We all represent the same ancestry as any tribal member. Well, I think that the younger people, I'm assuming yourself in this, is you gotta choose your path. See, I chose mine, and mine took me off the reservation and a place. But once you choose that path, you have to do everything you can to prepare yourself for it, to be successful in it. I always tell my grandkids and what have you that, dreams are great. Everybody should have a good dream, something that they think about. But goals are better. It's better to have a goal. Because once you have a goal, that means that you have someplace that you can physically get to, that you can see. And you know that everything you do, whether or not it's going to get you closer to that. So you set goals, simple ones, easy ones, and you do things to get yourself to that goal. So choose a path, but commit to that path. If it's on the reservation, you commit to it. And you're going to do everything you can to make that environment a better environment, a better place to live. And you're not going to do anything to embarrass yourself or your family or the tribe. You think about everything you do. And it's the same way when you're off the reservation. The only difference is that when you're off the reservation, you have more of a burden because that person that you're talking to on any given day may be the only native that they've ever met in their life or that they ever will meet in their life is you. And that's how they're going to decide, what they think about Native people is how you present yourself and how you speak to them and how you represent your tribe. So I say this for everybody, is to choose a path, understand the path that you've chosen, and do everything you can to be successful, and don't embarrass yourself or anyone else in the process. Stories to keep on. Well, what I wanted to do was to tell you a story about what it was like to be an urban Indian. When I got to Los Angeles, I told you about the smell and all that stuff. But also there was no other Indians around. I was the only one. There were people that of color, but most of those were Hispanic people, talking a different language or having. And so whenever I run into another native, it was like, oh my God, your brother, or sister or whatever. And so we start. I kept track of these people, and what we do is we go, because you can't just get away from the concrete in Los Angeles. You had to travel. So we'd go over the mountains there to the desert and go to powwows. There's a tribe that would have powwows up there, so we'd all get together, and more people got together. And we also start finding out that there were bars that had live music, and the live music was Native American guys, doing the guitars and drums and all the rock and roll music was done by Native people. And so we'd go to those bars, and we finally got to the point where there was enough of us that we start doing other things together, as Native people. And there was a I don't know if you've been to LA, but there's tons of freeways. They're everywhere. And there's interchanges. And under this one interchange, it goes up about six levels. Underneath there's an open area. And that open area, we called it the Tombs. It was a place that, you could get to by exiting the freeway and going underneath the freeway interchange. And so we would get together, the Native people that from Los Angeles would all get together there, because there was an open area there, that we didn't have to, be in a backyard or something or upsetting other people by too much traffic or whatever. And we'd park our cars in a circle and with the lights on. And, some of the guys would come with their hand drum and our use of the hood of the car as a drum and sing 49 songs, and we found a way of getting together and preserving the culture, even in a place that was just so country, anti tribal. And so we were able to do that because of our culture, because we loved our culture so much. And so I think the point is that no matter where you are, whether you're on the reservation or whether you're a native person off the reservation, you can still find a way to be culturally aware. And it's worth looking for. Now, unfortunately, this story doesn't have a real great ending because one of the local radio or TV stations, I think it was an ABC station or something, anyway, it doesn't matter. They decided to start doing a program, a series about natives in the city, about urban Indians. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that there was a time when AIM was big. AIM was making everybody aware that the native people were still alive and kicking. So anyway, they did this, and they one of the programs that they did was about people getting together at the tombs. And the very next week, there were police everywhere. They raided it and took that one little spot away from us that we